Hello.
Hi.
Claire and I are here. We're on day 5 of, we've had 5 days and 5 nights with the Mohans. We're at Kookaburra Creek Yoga in Bedfordshire, Western Australia. And we're very, very fortunate. We had Mr. and Mrs. Mohan, A.G. Mohan and Indra Mohan, come over from India. And Krishnamacharya is regarded as the modern father, is the father of modern yoga. And Mr. and Mrs. Mohan spent 20 years studying from them. So we are so fortunate to be here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's just amazing what we have learnt. You know, when we first started and we were presented with the two of them, it was just so striking. She has both of them have a beautiful presence, but she has such a radiant beauty. She's in her 70s and she is just totally serene. It's just amazing. Very
Still, calm presence, very centered.
Yeah, yeah, she is.
They're just glowing.
Yeah, the two of them are.
Yeah.
And that's due to the sattvic diet and the practices that they've been teaching to us.
Yeah.
And
so we're very fortunate. We've had a vegan chef cooking ayurvedic foods for us. Afternoon tea and lunch.
Morning tea.
Morning tea and lunch.
Morning tea and lunch, yeah.
And we've all had to practice server here. So there's the whole property. There's quite a few people staying, and a lot of us.
20.
Yeah, about 20, and a lot of us are yoga teachers. We've got medical doctors from Auckland. We have psychiatrists here who've been studying yoga for years. We have people with all sorts of qualifications, backgrounds.
Yeah, people came from Singapore, Cooper PD, and where else? New Zealand? The doctor was from New Zealand?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I know, like, for my job was to light the wooden fireplace every morning and night. Do you have kitchen duties?
I had to wash up the breakfast dishes, and there were a lot of breakfast dishes. Yeah, always she would be cooking up all sorts of beautiful, fresh.
Some people had to sweep the hall every day and make sure that, because it's quite cool here, spring, make sure that the heaters are on in the yoga room every morning. So 6 a.m. a lot of us would get up, not every morning, I missed 2 mornings, so we'd get up and practice asana, the poses and meditation and breath work, and start the day that way.
Then we'd come back and we'd have breakfast at 7:30. There would be a gong. So we'd all sort of come around the table, big circle, hold hands and chant Om.
So we had a really beautiful, so Mandy, Robert's not here, he's away in Tibet, but Mandy opens up her whole house when they have a retreat here, and we were in the loft, and we're very fortunate to be in the loft with Katie from Katie Yoga and Nat. And
Nat's from Margaret River.
Yeah.
And she's very, she's
It was amazing actually, because Nat and I discovered that we studied through the same yoga school based in South Australia doing the yoga diploma course, and that was just awesome to meet someone in Western Australia who knew Linda Burr and studied the same course, so we had quite a lot sort of in common. And the laughs we had.
We had such laughs.
Yeah, the first night we were in stitches of laughter. We were just crying in laughter, sharing the stories about what we used to do and how far we've come and how imperfect we still are.
Not one drop of alcohol was taken right over the whole week. We were just
It was talked about.
we spoke about it, but no, we were just happy as. We've been happy all week.
Yeah. So happy. Yeah. I actually definitely came down a few notches on the second day. I struggled the second day a bit, and I think a lot of stuff come up. I wasn't my happy self, but I did learn a lot, and I think so when you feel so happy, there's only one way, and that's to come down.
Well, that was basically part of what was spoken about. They said don't chase happiness, because with happiness there's always the downside. There's you know, the sadness that comes along. You know, the mind is always fluctuating.
So Before we go into sharing some of the absolute gems of what we've learnt and what we're going to go home and implement, this is my terms, layman terms, a general gist of what we learnt was there is so much knowledge out there. There's so much knowledge with yoga, and I know with myself, I tend to want to know everything, just understand everything, and there can be a real ego element in that, wanting to actually know and understand everything. And of course, you could also say there's a real ego element in saying, I know everything, I don't need to know everything. So you kind of have to find that middle path, I guess. We spoke about.
Yeah, we spoke about the middle path, for sure.
And the Mohans, they really encourage us to bring the practice back to ourselves. Bring the practice here. There's so much knowledge, there's so many scriptures, but we just need to be practical. And for example, like, we're not going into full detail about the chakras, are we? You know,
not at all,
we're not really going into chakras, which is sort of interesting. But there is a lot of talk about mindfulness practices and sharing stories, so we want to share some of those with you.
Yeah.
Have you got anything else to say before we start?
I just wanted to I just want to say that we started the whole week off by Hayley talking me along with her to teach a class for all of these people. So we got some really top yoga teachers here. So on the Monday night I taught a very gentle class
which was lovely. It was
with
really
Yoga
good.
Nidra, and which was just perfect that night. I think we were all particularly tired after the Monday session. And then on Tuesday
we
it was
had
Hayley's
really
turn.
big shoes to fill. I covered for Robert.
Yeah.
Robert's been teaching for maybe over 40 years, so very big shoes to fill. And
I covered for Mandy. So.
There was 14 people in the class. There was about 5 people that came from the community, and the other sort of 9 teachers were other yoga teachers and students on the retreat. So yeah, it was good though. It was fun. It was such a beautiful
You did the strong
studio.
class, and I did the
level 3 class that I was covering, but sort of gave everyone level 1, level 2, level 3 options, because we had, some people were tired, some people were new to yoga, some were experienced. So it felt a bit strange actually, because the native life was so quiet last night, and it was just silence. And I guess I'm so used to teaching in spaces where we have gentle music playing, and there was this real silence, because I guess we had to have the heating on. It was so cold and all the windows were shut, and you couldn't really hear the nature.
No, not really.
But that's okay.
It was quiet.
It was good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
go. Yes. So generally, the title of the course was Yogic Mindfulness. It was Lighten Your Life. That was the theme. So how do you lighten your life? And basically, he started with saying, don't chase happiness. There will be unhappiness associated with it. It's when you transcend the mind, that is when you find peace. And he went on to say that the goal of yoga asana is to see how the mind can be brought to a calm state. Oops. And it was said that every step in this direction is worth it. When you have clarity, that's when you can start to make better decisions.
Yeah. Every time we spend trying to quieten the mind is never a waste of time. That, for me, is number one key. There are a few other good ones though. There's some beautiful stuff on relationships, which is profound. That's coming. I think that's towards the end.
Yeah.
That was incredible.
Yeah. So, with the name of my little business, I have to say that the word clarity came up so many times.
Yeah.
And my business is called Clarity Yoga, so I'm so pleased I chose that name. So the idea is less thought.
I want to share this one.
Clarity.
So we'll try and flow here without cutting each other off, but we'll try. We sort of what
We'll
she
try.
doesn't cover, I'll cover, and vice versa. So
Yeah.
there's a really great saying: never say I am confused. Say the mind is confused, not I. It's the mind that's confused. By the way, we are not our mind. We are not our thoughts.
No.
Yeah.
So we need to watch the mind and see what is going on, and then refrain from certain actions. Using moderation of the breath and replacing undesirable thoughts with more desirable.
To be mindful is to be aware of what is happening in the mind. Yeah.
So we can bring it down to these three elements. What is desirable we call sattva. So that's clarity, cleanliness,
Of mind and body.
of mind and body,
Pure.
purity of
Purifying,
food, of everything really.
Everything good.
All that is good, yeah, all that is good for you.
Mm.
Yeah. And what we're trying to avoid is hyperactivity of the mind or dullness of the mind. So if the mind is feeling really dull, really down, then you start to bring in something that is sattvic, which is pure, clean, clear. That's what you change the thoughts for. If the mind is really going 100 miles an hour, then it needs to be slowed down, not by something really dull, but preferably by something clean, clear, light, bright.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I've got here that the Mohans have published 6 books so far, but we know that they're going to, I think they're actually in the process of translating the Yoga Sutras from Sanskrit to English, and they actually speak fluent Sanskrit, the language of yoga. So the question is, what can I do to relate my mind to something steady? So I think the number one answer to that has been a mantra. Use a mantra, because mind is song, so we use song to calm the mind, the focus. And also, and I'll let you speak after this,
Okay, yeah,
Claire, because I'd like to hear your point of view. But so what we do is during the practice, we connect to the heart, not the physical heart, but the center point of feeling. And that's generally, we put the thumb here in the little nook and take the hand down. Can you remember the name of it? It starts with an S. And it's not the chakras at all.
No. You've got it written down there.
Yeah, somewhere.
No. Don't ask me questions like that when I don't know the answer.
We don't have to know everything. We certainly don't. And you can't give someone else freedom, because they can always enslave you.
Oh, that was a good one. Yeah, so we're talking about, going to the heart center, and it's really keeping all of your consciousness into this center. Not the head, not any other part of the body, into this, and working with the breath. So getting a feeling when you breathe in of expansion, really opening right up. And then it's having that inner help, that inner guidance at the heart center. So it's imagining there that something that is very soothing, very loving for you. For me, it's apart from the divine, I also think of something that's really beautiful to come home to. So for me, it's my grandma, my long deceased grandma. So I think of that love, that I had as a young child for my grandma.
We quite often use we're using a lot these 5 days the Anjali Mudra instead of that one.
Yeah,
it's
so
little bud, little.
Yeah, so it's like a little lotus bud
down at the heart center, not the actual heart itself.
And when we've been doing asana, it has been just very, very mindful, slow movements. No acrobatics at all. And pranayama.
Sattvic, calm, slow.
And really mindfully and really felt.
Yeah.
the core.
I'll just sort of try and go on to the most important point so it's not too long. Oh, I love this saying. So the goal is to achieve a state of sattva, but first, before we cut off from the Wi-Fi, we actually first have to cut off from the mental Wi-Fi that's going on in our head.
Yeah.
And the mental connection.
But before we can do that, we've got to have that safe place to go to, so that inner guide.
Something to connect to.
Yeah, something to connect to.
Not in the external world, but in
Yeah.
the inner world. Something
Yeah.
that we can't lose.
That
We
inner
don't want to cling
helpline.
to something we lose that's
Yeah.
like a person or material objects.
So it's not about religion, not at all.
No.
It can be anything, you know. It's just knowing that within you have that inner help, that inner safe place to go to. You need to develop that feeling and then rely on it.
I really loved, I'm just probably skipping forward, but Mr. Mohan said that people are either attached to earthly desire, things on earth, people, animals, objects, and completely detached from the divine, or if they are completely attached to the divine, they have no attachment at all to anything on earth. So that's really interesting, isn't it? Because we speak about non-attachment being important, but I guess we are attached to something, can't we? Whether it's on this earth or whether it's our belief.
Yeah, you mentioning that made me think to just step back just a little bit and go into, first of all, the main problem is that we as humans think that that's all that we are. We are not consciousness. We haven't actually got it, that we are consciousness. And that was probably the main point, wasn't it?
We are not our mind.
No.
We are not our thoughts.
We are consciousness. And we are just of little consequence, actually.
Yeah. I'm going to go through and just mention the main sort of awesome parts here. But yeah, we'll take turns. So, two things. He said, Mr. Mohan said, if teacher is confused, student is confused, then yoga is profound. And I really enjoyed this sentence, and you have to sort of understand that there was a lot of information given about the mind can be really crazy. The mind is crazy, and if we start thinking we are the mind, of course we're going to feel absolutely crazy. When we learn to calm the mind and still the mind, then we sort of really connect with our true nature, which is ever unchanging. I call it spirit, but that's sort of like in a nutshell, right? So all of us are mad at a mental level.
Yeah, our minds are just running.
If we just pay attention to the mind, it's always fluctuating. It's really crazy. So
we have to develop a way of calming that right down, slowing it right down, having that center to go to. Also, one of the very, very important points, I don't know if I'm flipping here, but is the fact that, how do you come to make a right decision? So that comes down to Ishvara Pranidhan. So it's going to that inner self, to that divine self, and you're just at the point where you're going to want a decision.
The divinity within the self.
And you need to go to that higher self or that divinity within yourself and ask the question before you act. Also, there was talk of, that we were talking about, wrong thought leads to wrong.
You mean
words.
wrong knowledge or wrong thought?
Wrong. No, we did that as well. There was both. Yeah.
When it came to, learning the Yoga Sutras, a few scriptures like that. Yoga Sutras is kind of the main one that relates to yoga. There was a great Katie actually recited this and said 50% of it is right knowledge, 50% of it is the experience of the person who actually wrote that.
I don't remember that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that was sort of a reflection. So
Okay.
there's a good one here. We need to relate the mind to a subject that is steady. Relate the mind to a state, an object of calm.
Yeah.
So you have to you have to actually be holding on to something before you let go. And that could be, and they're not talking about your mobile phones.
No, not at all. No.
You know, not attachment to, but my house makes me happy. Like, hold on to something solid, and that can be belief.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So to find out who you truly are, you need to go through a process of elimination, don't you?
Yeah.
I'm not the body.
Yeah.
I'm not the mind. And finally get to that point in meditation of who am I?
Are we going to keep going, or are we going to do a take 2?
We'll have to do
Because
a
it's
take
2:30.
2. We've got to go.
We've got to go. We've got to go back to the other session.
Okay.